So we wanted to have Lisa Dietlin back because, of course, Tuesday is her favorite day of the week. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
It is, and I am doing great. What could be better than Giving Tuesday now? We get to do it twice, today and in December.
Yeah, it's all about giving just a little, because even $5 goes a very long way. And people say, but $5? I don't have $5. Are you kidding? I'm seeing what people are shelling out for toilet paper. And I almost got into it today with a lady at the Walgreens who was hoarding the 10-pack of the Scott's Plus. I literally looked right at her and I said, really? We're still doing this? Come on now.
Absolutely. I went to the grocery store and I passed the toilet paper because I said, I'm okay and I'm not going to be a hoarder. I'm not going to be like them and let somebody else who needs it, be able to purchase it. But we are on a day that many nonprofits have been outreaching to their donors and thinking about how they could ask them to invest a little bit. We talk about how nonprofits are hit, either those that are, responding to the overwhelming demand for food, and making sure that people have places to sleep, especially our vulnerable populations, as well as our first on the line responders, our first responders and healthcare workers, and then, of course, our very iconic cultural institutions here. They're all trying to be respectful about where we all are at, but they also need some donations.
So let's talk about now you see this in philanthropy and you consult and you tell people where they should put their money if they have it and what's the best fit. Are you seeing on your side of things, Lisa Dietlin, that some people are having trouble pivoting, like they're just hoping this all goes back to the way it was in a few months and they don't want to completely redo their plan, or are more actually revamping and trying to make this work in totally different ways? And then if they can go back a little, then that's fine too.
I think it's a split. I think a lot of people keep hoping and praying that we're going to go back to what it was, that we're going to go back to the normal time. And I think many of us are crossing that bridge and realizing those days are gone. I don't know if I'll ever be able to go into a grocery store without a mask again in my life. I hope so, but I don't know if that's a reality. So many of us are starting to pivot, as are the nonprofit organizations, and they're reaching out and they're saying, here's how we're being affected. The Met in New York thinks that they will lose $150 million with the shutdown if they open in June, because they can't get back those days that tourists would be in New York City, buying a ticket, going to see the various exhibits and exhibitions within the museum, as well as buying a cup of coffee or a T-shirt at the gift shop. So they're trying to figure out how to pivot, and they did a magnificent job with an online virtual gala fundraiser, which was free. You could watch it, and it was all the opera singers singing. And so I watched somebody in New York throw it to somebody in Poland, throw it to somebody in South Africa, and they were all singing and talking about how wonderful it is in New York, both at the Met and the Met Opera, to be affiliated even in a time when we're all isolated.
There's some stuff going on, of course, with Broadway and all the actors that were going to be on stage and they can't. So they're doing these Zoom performances. And while people are frustrated that they can't be on stage, quote unquote, they are now able to actually get more of a broader reach. I know that for myself, one of the conferences I was going to do this summer, we're going to do it virtually and people from Japan can join in. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
people it's all over, we're pivoting. So I think when you ask the question about pivoting, I think we're all pivoting, whether you're a big, iconic cultural institution or you're the everyday service provider in a community that's helping kids read or, providing food and after-school programs. Everyone's trying to figure out how do we pivot, and it's wonderful that we live in an age where technology is allowing us to do that.
Yeah, no kidding. What is this about company matches? Are a lot of companies doing this? Because I saw something about Pause Chicago is doing a match. There's certain with certain partnerships, right, and banks and so forth. I know a lot of people trying to do that as a way of inspiring others to give, so then that dollar amount can be matched. But how many companies are actually doing that?
Well, many nonprofits are doing it, and they're looking to companies and individuals initially to provide the seed money, because all of us want a deal. Wherever we go, we want a deal. So if we're giving $50 and we know it's going to be matched 1-to-1 or 2-to-1, that is a wonderful way to make your gift go even further. So many nonprofits reach out and they get a corporation or an individual to say, for everybody who gives on this day or during this time frame, I will match dollar for dollar or $2 for $1. But many corporations where individuals work and their employees have corporate matching gift programs. And we always encourage people when they make their charitable donation, if they work at a corporation, to check. And it's really easy. You just contact your human resources department, your HR department, and they will tell you if there's a corporate matching gift program. I know when I started, there was a corporation out of Texas, one of the big oil companies, that matched 4-to-1. So you can imagine if you gave, a $200 gift, they matched it 4 times, $800, and so you ended up making a $1,000 gift.
That's incredible. And I didn't realize the new CARES Act and Congress is giving back a deduction. So you get, if it's up to $300? Tell me about that.
Yes, it is. It's up to $300 back if you make a charitable donation. So, this is how America was founded. You've heard me say this many times, that, when we declared our independence on July 4th, we actually said we're going it alone. And that meant there was no monarchy, there was no state religion that was going to, build our churches, our hospitals, our orphanages, our workhouses, our libraries. We were going to have to do it. So if we wanted any of those things, we being the citizens that lived here in this country, we were going to have to raise the funds and do it. And it's just grown by leaps and bounds, this field. It used to be a once-in-a-lifetime event. You built a swimming pool, you built a camp for the kids, you built a senior center, and now there's so many opportunities to get involved. And, I love people's creativity. I want to pivot a little bit and talk about a hero of mine, Captain Tom Moore out of Great Britain. And you and I had a conversation where I was sharing, he's this World War II veteran, and he was turning 100 on April 30th. And he came up with this idea because he was so moved by the first responders, and the healthcare workers, that he said, and he's a bent-over older gentleman, he's got a walker, he said...
He's 100. Yeah,
he's 100.
I'm sugarcoating it. Okay. You're so polite. He's an older gentleman. He's a centurion. Right, go on.
Well, I wasn't really made this deal. He was 99 years old, and he said, I will walk 100 times around my garden, basically around his house and his garden in Great Britain, he said, if I can raise 1,000 pounds, which would be about $1,200 US dollars. Mm-hmm. He ended up raising $41 million.
What?
It just went viral. Like, people just thought this Captain Tom. I mean, everybody's in love with Captain Tom. But here was one man who had an idea, who thought, okay, we're clapping for the carers, we're trying to be supportive of the healthcare workers, and he wanted to raise money for the healthcare, the national healthcare system in Great Britain, and his goal was 1,000 pounds, so $1,200, and he raised $41 million. On his birthday, he got cakes and presents and signs, all appropriately social distance, and 150,000 birthday cards were sent to him. It was amazing. He got in the Guinness World Book of Records. But here's one person who had an idea, who said, there's not a lot I can do, but I've got this walker, and I'm turning 100, and what if I did 100 laps around my garden? Would people give money? Could I raise some money? I don't know if Captain Tom had 1,000 pounds or not. Mm-hmm. But boy, that one idea just took off, and it is transformative what he was able to do and raise money. We saw that with the Ice Bucket Challenge,
sure.
One person's idea. So I would say to the listeners, if you have an idea about something you want to do, pivot and do it. Throw it out there. Share it with people. Don't keep it a secret. You might just transform something in your community, or like Captain Tom, a whole healthcare system might.
$41 million later.
$41 million. They said the Queen sent a personal birthday card, and he was delighted to get a birthday card from the Queen.
Oh, my gosh. He's going to be sending thank you notes for his birthday cards. That sounds like that kind of guy, Captain Tom. Well, another positive story, and you always bring the positive spin here to things, Lisa Dietlin, Power of Three, one of your many positive books. LisaDietlin.com is where you can learn more. But you actually applied for, I want to talk about your positive story, where somebody who actually got the help that you applied for. We talk about a lot of small businesses didn't get the help that they wanted and that they had hoped for, but you did, and I want to celebrate that. So tell the listeners what happened for you.
Well, I'm a small business owner in the state of Illinois, and of course have been impacted by what has happened with COVID-19, and decided to apply when the payroll protection program came out. And of course, we didn't know a lot about it in the beginning, and worked with my banker, and it's very important to have a relationship with your banker. And I called, and I worked with Metropolitan Capital Bank and Trust, and they said, yeah, we're still getting the details. They're still coming down from Washington, D.C., but, we kept pace with them, and we got the form, and we filled it out, and we submitted it. We got the documents to them, and then we heard nothing. We heard nothing. And, and then all the money was gone. They said all the money was gone, and I just thought, well, maybe somebody else deserved it, because, I have clients, and I have a very blessed life, and, I have a roof over my head, and I have food in my refrigerator, and I have a bed to sleep in, and I was like, okay, I'm okay. And then they said there would be more funding, and again, not being negative, I was just positive about it. I reached out to my bookkeeper and my banker. I said, are we all set? And they said, yeah, you're all set, to go. Your application's ready. And then I started hearing, like, you should apply many places, like go to many banks and do. And I thought, and even that morning when the second round of money came out, I said, oh my gosh, maybe I should do that. And I didn't. And about 4:45 that night, we got notification that I was the recipient of a PPP grant that as a small business owner. So I was encouraged, and I wanted to share with listeners, and I tell people that, the money really did get to people. Maybe not on the first round, but the money really did get to people who operate small businesses. Mm-hmm. And I think you have to have faith, and you have to be positive, and you have to follow the steps. And Jen, what I always believe in is relationships are so important. If a lot of the feedback I got was that if you couldn't pick up the phone and call your banker, perhaps there was some work that you needed to do, or perhaps there was an opportunity that had been missed. And we get so comfortable with technology that we actually don't look people eyeball to eyeball. And, I made sure that I went back and I thanked everybody along the way, not only just with an email, but with, I love to send handwritten notes. I sent a handwritten note and said, thank you for helping me. Thank you for helping me secure this funding. And I have also now learned that two of my friends who run nonprofit organizations, they received some PPP funding out of the second batch of funding. And so that makes me feel really, really good. And then there's an art theater group that I know that got some funding from Illinois. So the money is getting to where it needed to go. I think there were some hiccups along the way, and I think if you're negative about it in the beginning, I believe in putting positive out there all the time.
Right, and it worked for you, and I wanted to celebrate that, because there are still some complaints because things have not been resolved on all fronts. But you went and you nurtured that relationship. You did all the steps. You followed the steps. You filled out the forms, and it worked out for you. And we're raising a glass for you. So congrats on that one, Lisa. And thank you for your insights on this Giving Tuesday. Let's do it again, shall we?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to give a shout out that this week is Teacher Appreciation Week, and even though our teachers aren't in the classroom formally, they are providing a lot of support to our young people throughout this country. And there's a couple of great stories that I want to share with folks next week when we get together. But this week, thank a teacher, thank a principal. They're doing their very, very best, and none of them thought they would be providing instruction this way.
Yeah, no kidding. Talk about pivots. We love our teachers. My goodness.
Our theme for the year, I think.
Absolutely. That's the tattoo. If we're getting one, 3 bottles of wine are involved. And we're splitting.
Oh, gosh. There could be a challenge there. Wait, we might raise some money.
Hey, a tattoo challenge. All right, Lisa Dietlin, thank you. LisaDietlin.com. Everybody.
The Jen Weigel Show.